Good day everyone, I am Bral Benamir,
And I am Angeline Dulay.
and today we will be talking about the GDP or the Gross Domestic Product.
And for today's discussion, the students shall be able to understand and explain the concept of gross domestic product, as well as distinguish the types of gross domestic product and discuss the advantages and disadvantages of each. They shall also analyze the different approaches of measuring the gross domestic product and understand the importance and limitations of GDP.
GDP was introduced as an economic indicator in the early 20th century, and it is used to provide a standardized way of measuring economic activity. It also became a crucial tool for tracking war production during the World War II. However, by 1960s, criticism began to emerge as GDP failed to account for factors like income inequality and environmental sustainability. So, what do we mean when we say gross, domestic, and product? Gross may pertain to income, profit, or interest that have not yet been deducted by tax or other contributions. Domestic means that the activity occurs within the country's borders. And lastly, the product. The product includes the value of goods or services produced. Now, how do we define GDP or gross domestic product? GDP is defined as the measurement of the monetary value of the final goods and services produced in a country in a given period of time. Final goods are products or services that are purchased by the end users for consumption or investment.
For the next discussion is we have the different types of gross domestic product. So first is we have the nominal GDP. It measures the country's total economic output using the current prices without adjusting for inflation. It compares various countries' economic performance or measures an economy's growth over time. So nominal GDP does not account for inflation because it only measures the total economic output based on the actual prices in a given period. So remember the word actual. It means that the primary goal of nominal GDP is to provide an understanding of the current market value of the country's economic activity rather than focusing on what is the actual volume of goods and services produced. So to compute for nominal GDP, let us have an example. So let us assume that we have five products. We have coffee, tea, pizza, textbook, and paper. Now, in this example, let us assume that the paper was only used for textbooks and for pizza. The first thing that we need to determine is whether it is a final good or intermediate good. So why do we need to determine if it is a final good or intermediate good when we can put it all? So in the definition of GDP, it is defined that the final good is used to measure the total economic output of a country. Thus, in this scenario, the paper is not included because it is an intermediate good. When we say intermediate good, these are the products that are used to produce a final good, so it is disregarded. To compute for the market value, we multiply the quantity of the product to its price per unit. So for coffee, we have the quantity of 100 and price per unit of 20, so we get a market value of 2,000. Next is tea, we have 75 times 25, we have 1,875. And then pizza, we have 50 times 70, we get 3,500. And lastly, we have 30 multiplied by 150, we get 4,500. So, in this example, the total nominal GDP is amounted to 11,875 pesos. So, next is we have the real GDP. So, real GDP measures the total economic output of a country while adjusting for the effects of inflation or deflation. So, in simpler terms, real GDP uses constant prices from a base year, eliminating the impact of price changes and providing a more accurate picture of the country's actual economic growth. So this allows the economists and policymakers to know whether the increase in GDP is because of the production increase or just a simple price increase. Using real GDP is also easier for comparison of economy across different years because we will be able to realize and understand the trends in economic growth and also for planning in long-term policies. There are also some instances where the advancement in technology or improvements in healthcare quality are not reflected in GDP figures. So to compute for real GDP, let us have an example. So we have the same situation. We still have the products together with its quantity and price. However, in this example, we have the base year and the current year. So we use two different years in order for us to determine the real GDP. So to get the real GDP, we multiply the current year's quantity to its base year's price. Now, to make it easier, we can remove the quantity of the base year and the price of the current year so that we will not be confused of what we need to compute. So now that we have removed the quantity and price, so we multiply the price of the base year to quantity. So in coffee, we multiply 20 times 105, we get 2,100. And then tea, we have 25 pesos times 80, we get 2,000. And pizza, we have 70 pesos times 60, we get 4,200. Lastly, in textbooks, we have 150 pesos times 35, we get 5,250. So in this example, the real GDP is amounted to 13,550 pesos. And now, let us have the last type of the gross domestic product, which is the GDP per capita. So GDP per capita measures the average economic output per person in a country. So GDP per capita helps determine how much each individuals contribute to the country's economic output, or what share of the GDP each person would receive if the output were evenly distributed. So, the main purpose of GDP per capita is to provide an indicator of the standard of living or the economic well-being of a country's population. So, let us assume that the GDP is 100,000 pesos and the total population is 6,000. So, what is the GDP per capita? So, the formula of this is we get the GDP divided by its population. So, we use 100,000 pesos divided by 6,000, and the total GDP per capita is 16.67 pesos. So, that is the individual contribution of each person.
Let us now talk about the three different approaches of GDP. First is the production approach. This method adds up the value added at each stage of production. Value added is the difference between the selling price of a product and the cost of the intermediate goods used to make it. For example, if a bakery buys flour and makes bread, the flour is an intermediate good, and the bread is the final product. The value added would be the price of the bread minus the cost of the flour. Next is the expenditure approach. This approach adds up all the spending on final goods and services in the economy. It focuses on the following: what households spend on things like food, TVs, and medical care, what companies invest in things like machinery, government purchases, and net export or exports minus imports. And lastly, the income approach. This method adds up all the income generated by producing goods and services. It includes wages paid to employees and gross profits made by the business. And let us now talk about the limitations of gross domestic product. It includes income distributions, non-market activities, and environmental sustainability. A country can have a high GDP even if they are experiencing significant income inequality. It is because GDP only measures the total economic output, and it doesn't indicate how wealth is distributed across the population. A high GDP could result from concentrated wealth in certain sectors or among a small portion of the population, while the majority may not benefit equally from that growth. GDP only measures market-based economic activities, excluding non-market activities such as household work, volunteer efforts, and other forms of unpaid labor. Additionally, GDP does not consider the negative environmental effects of economic activities.
Now, we are thinking, why do we need GDP? Or why do we need to understand it? So GDP is fundamental to understanding how economies operate and grow. It plays a central role in shaping government policies, guiding business strategies, and influencing investment decisions.
And that wraps up today's lesson about GDP. Thank you so much for your attention, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Bye bye.